So the theory of matter he's talking about is basically he means two things by it. Firstly, Cartesian bifurcation of nature into matter and mind in such a way that nature is pure extension, doesn't have any thinking capacity, and mind is pure thinking, which lacks extension. So they are totally opposite, not just opposite to each other, but they're dichotomous. So then the whole problem for Cartesianism was how these mind and matter interact. For example, in human beings, you have a brain which is matter. So how does this brain thinks? And body is obviously matter in the sense that it is extension. So that was the problem of Cartesianism. And the other thing which he means by the theory of matter is empiricism, British empiricism, which is in a sense a version of Cartesianism, empiricist Cartesianism, you can call it. And I'll include Hobbes in it as well, even though he is not strictly speaking of included among empiricists, but and Galileo, who precedes or lived at the same time, I'm not sure. Some of his theorization about primary qualities and secondary qualities also is included in this. But what British empiricism does is construct a theory how we know the world given this Cartesian picture. And for British empiricists, mind, the empiricist built a theory of knowledge based on general Cartesian picture of nature and mind. So nature is basically passive, mind is active due to thinking. And through senses, mind gets information from nature, that's mostly a neurological process. And thinking then collect that information and basically infer a picture of world from that information. So Allama Iqbal is assuming that this theory of matter lies behind the traditional or classical physics, Newtonian physics, materialist physics of 17th, 18th, and 19th century. And he is criticizing this theory and not physics, but this theory of the matter. That's the first thing. And he will criticize this theory based on empiricism of his own. And what he would say is this empiricism is British empiricism is not really empiricism. That's not how it doesn't portray our experience, our phenomenological experience of the nature. And he also criticizes this theory of matter on, let's say, metaphysical ground, in the sense that this bifurcation of nature into this notion of nature as passive and pure extension, and mind as active and pure thinking, and this bifurcation where nature has nothing to do with mind as far as its essence is concerned, and they're totally exclusive. Then the question is how they interact. So he will criticize this theory of the nature of nature and mind, or the essence of nature and mind. But he agrees that physics is based on empirical observation. So he goes on with this myth, empirical observation. Physics is based on empirical observation, and the purpose of physics is to understand the universe and explain it. What he criticizes is theory of matter. It is put forward as a justification for this physics. So I basically agree with his criticism of Cartesianism to a certain extent, and his criticism of the epistemology or behind the theory of the matter, or British empiricism. But what I basically reject is his picture of what physics is. As we said last time, physics is not based on primarily, I'm not saying there are no empirical observations. Physics is not based on empirical observations. Primary purpose is not understanding or explaining. Physics is primarily based on experimentation, and not observation. And the basic function of experiments, either whether they are actual real experiments or thought experiments, is to manipulate nature, not to understand it. Obviously, you can't manipulate nature unless you understand it. But what is your primary purpose? Your primary purpose is not understanding. It's manipulation. It makes huge difference what is your primary purpose, because your purpose actually defines how you see the world and the way you see the world. So that's the basic background, which we should keep in mind, and which sort of we learned from our last a few sessions. So this should be kept in mind when we are reading what comes next, the next paragraph.